What if I told you that the difference between who you are now and who you want to become isn't about making massive, dramatic changes? What if the secret to remarkable results had nothing to do with setting ambitious goals or mustering superhuman willpower? This might sound counterintuitive, but it's the central premise of one of the most influential self-improvement books of the past decade. Atomic Habits by James Clear has sold millions of copies worldwide and transformed the lives of countless readers. But this isn't just another self-help book filled with empty promises and motivational fluff. It's a practical, science-backed guide to understanding how habits work and how tiny changes can lead to remarkable results. James Clear spent years researching behavioral psychology, neuroscience, and human performance to distill the most effective strategies for building good habits and breaking bad ones. In this comprehensive exploration, we'll dive deep into the key concepts that make atomic habits so powerful. We'll examine the 4 laws of behavior change, understand why identity matters more than outcomes, and discover practical strategies you can implement immediately. Whether you want to get healthier, become more productive, strengthen your relationships, or achieve any other goal, the principles in this book provide a proven framework for making it happen. Let's begin by understanding what makes habits so powerful in the first place. The core philosophy: small changes, remarkable results. At the heart of Atomic Habits lies a deceptively simple yet profoundly powerful idea. Improving by just 1% every day leads to extraordinary results over time. Clear calls these tiny improvements atomic habits because they're small and mighty, like atoms that serve as building blocks of larger systems. These marginal gains might seem insignificant in the moment, but their cumulative effect is undeniable. Consider this mathematical reality. If you improve by 1% every day for a year, you'll end up 37 times better than when you started. Conversely, if you decline by 1% daily, you'll deteriorate nearly down to 0. This is the compound effect in action, and it applies to every area of life. Your outcomes are essentially a lagging measure of your habits. Your net worth is a lagging measure of your financial habits. Your weight is a lagging measure of your eating habits. Your knowledge is a lagging measure of your learning habits. But here's where most people go wrong. We tend to focus on goals rather than systems. Clear argues convincingly that goals are about the results you want to achieve, while systems are about the processes that lead to those results. Winners and losers often have the same goals, so goals alone can't be what differentiates them. The difference lies in the systems and habits they follow daily. When you fall in love with the process rather than the product, you don't have to wait to give yourself permission to be happy. You can be satisfied anytime your system is running. This philosophy represents a fundamental shift in how we think about personal development. Instead of asking, "How can I achieve this specific outcome?" we should ask, "What type of person could achieve this outcome?" And then, what would that person do every day? This leads us directly to one of the most powerful concepts in the book: identity-based habits. The 4 laws of behavior change. James Clear synthesizes decades of research into an elegant framework he calls the 4 laws of behavior change. These laws provide a simple set of rules for creating good habits and breaking bad ones. Every habit proceeds through 4 stages: cue, craving, response, and reward. The 4 laws correspond to each of these stages, giving you a practical blueprint for behavioral change. The first law: make it obvious. You can't change what you don't notice. The first step to building better habits is becoming aware of your current ones. Clear recommends starting with a technique called the habit scorecard, where you list all your daily habits and mark them as positive, negative, or neutral. This simple exercise brings awareness to behaviors that have become so automatic you barely notice them. Once you're aware of your habits, you need to design obvious cues for the behaviors you want to adopt. Implementation intentions are powerful tools here. I will behavior at time and location. For example, I will meditate for 10 minutes at 7 a.m. in my bedroom. This specificity dramatically increases the likelihood you'll follow through. Another effective strategy is habit stacking, where you pair a new habit with an existing one. After I pour my morning coffee, I will write down 3 things I'm grateful for. Environment design is perhaps the most underrated aspect of habit formation. Your environment shapes your behavior in ways you rarely recognize. If you want to practice guitar more often, place your guitar in the middle of your living room instead of in a closet. If you want to eat healthier, put nutritious foods at eye level and hide junk food. Make the cues of good habits obvious in your environment, and you'll perform them more consistently without requiring extra willpower or motivation. The second law, make it attractive. We're more likely to adopt habits that are appealing. Clear explains how dopamine, the neurotransmitter associated with desire and motivation, plays a crucial role in habit formation. Interestingly, dopamine spikes not just when you experience pleasure, but when you anticipate it. This is why the craving for a reward, not the reward itself, often drives our behavior. One powerful strategy for making habits more attractive is temptation bundling, which involves pairing an action you want to do with an action you need to do. For instance, you might only watch your favorite show while exercising on the treadmill. This creates a neurological connection that makes the habit you need to do more appealing because it's bundled with something you already enjoy. Another key insight is understanding the role of social influence in habit formation. We tend to imitate the habits of 3 groups: the close, the many, and the powerful. When surrounded by people who embody the behaviors you want to adopt, change becomes significantly easier. Join a culture where your desired behavior is normal behavior, and you'll be pulled toward it naturally. This is why joining a running club can be more effective for building an exercise habit than trying to go it alone. The third law, make it easy. Motivation is overrated. Environment matters more. The central idea of the third law is to reduce friction for good habits and increase friction for bad ones. Clear introduces the 2-minute rule. When starting a new habit, it should take less than 2 minutes to do. Read before bed becomes read 1 page. Do yoga becomes take out my yoga mat. The point is to master the habit of showing up. This might seem too simple to be effective, but it works because of a principle called the gateway habit. A habit needs to be established before it can be improved. Instead of trying to engineer a perfect habit from the start, do the easy thing consistently. Once reading 1 page becomes automatic, you can expand it. But many people never get there because they start with something too ambitious. Environment design applies here as well, but with a focus on reducing friction. Want to draw more? Put your pencils and sketchbook on your desk where you'll see them. Want to eat healthier? Prep your meals on Sunday, so healthy eating during the week requires no additional effort. Every additional step between you and a good habit creates friction that decreases the likelihood you'll do it. Conversely, every barrier you create between yourself and a bad habit makes it less likely to occur. The fourth law, make it satisfying. We repeat behaviors that feel rewarding. The challenge with habits is that immediate rewards often work against us while delayed rewards work for us. Eating junk food feels good now but leads to poor health later. Exercise feels uncomfortable now but leads to fitness later. The fourth law is about creating immediate satisfaction for beneficial habits. One effective strategy is habit tracking. The simple act of crossing off a day on a calendar or moving a paperclip from one jar to another provides immediate, visible evidence of your progress. This visual cue creates satisfaction and momentum. You don't want to break the chain of completed habits, which motivates you to continue. Plus, habit tracking keeps you honest about whether you're actually doing what you intend to do. Another powerful concept is the accountability partner or habit contract. When someone else is watching or when you've made a public commitment, the cost of breaking your habit increases. We care deeply about what others think of us, and we don't want to let people down. By making the costs of bad habits public and immediate, you add a social consequence that makes the behavior less attractive. Identity-based habits. Becoming who you want to be. Perhaps the most transformative concept in Atomic Habits is the shift from outcome-based habits to identity-based habits. Most people approach habits backward. They focus on what they want to achieve rather than who they wish to become. Clear argues that the most effective way to change your behavior is to focus not on what you want to achieve, but on who you wish to become. Every action you take is a vote for the type of person you wish to become. No single instance will transform your beliefs, but as the votes build up, so does the evidence of your new identity. This is why process-oriented goals are often more effective than outcome-oriented goals. The goal is not to read a book. The goal is to become a reader. The goal is not to run a marathon. The goal is to become a runner. This identity shift is powerful because behavior that conflicts with our sense of self will not last. You might want more money, but if your identity is that of someone who consumes rather than creates, you'll continue to be pulled towards spending rather than earning. You might want better health, but if your identity is wrapped up in comfort food and sedentary entertainment, lasting change will be difficult. The good news is that your identity emerges from your habits. Every time you write a page, you're a writer. Every time you practice the violin, you're a musician. Every time you encourage your employees, you're a leader. The more you repeat a behavior, the more you reinforce the identity associated with that behavior. This creates a virtuous cycle. Your habits shape your identity, and your identity shapes your habits. The habit loop and the plateau of latent potential. Understanding how habits work at a neurological level helps explain why change can feel so difficult and why persistence is crucial. Clear describes the habit loop. Cue, craving, response, reward. This cycle runs continuously in the background of your life, often outside your conscious awareness. Your brain is constantly scanning the environment for cues that predict rewards, and when it finds them, it initiates the craving, leading to the response. One of the most important insights in the book concerns what Clear calls the plateau of latent potential. Imagine an ice cube sitting on a table. The room temperature is 25 degrees. Slowly, the temperature rises. 26 degrees, 27, 28, 29. The ice cube is still solid. Then 30 degrees, 31 degrees. Still nothing. Finally, 32 degrees. The ice begins to melt. From the outside, it appeared nothing was happening from 25 to 31 degrees, but a lot was happening. The temperature was rising. The change just wasn't visible yet. This is how habits work. You can work on building a habit for weeks or months with little visible change, then suddenly you break through. People often give up during this valley of disappointment, right before the breakthrough would occur. This is why understanding the compound effect is so critical. Mastery requires patience. Your results are not a reflection of your efforts during the past week or month, but a reflection of your habits over the past year or decade. The lesson is clear. Don't judge your progress by individual results. Judge your progress by your commitment to the process. Are you showing up consistently? Are you becoming the type of person who could achieve the outcomes you want? If so, trust that the results will come. Breakthrough moments are often the result of many previous actions building up the potential required to unleash a major change. Practical strategies for implementation. Understanding theory is valuable, but application is everything. Let's explore some practical strategies you can implement immediately to harness the power of atomic habits in your own life. Start with habit stacking and implementation intentions. These techniques leverage existing neural pathways to build new habits. Write down your current habits, then identify where you can stack new behaviors. After I sit down for breakfast, I will write down one thing I'm grateful for. After I write my gratitude, I will read one page of a book. This creates a chain of behaviors linked together. Redesign your environment for success. Conduct an environment audit. What are the obvious cues in your space? Do they support the person you want to become or the person you currently are? Rearrange your space to make good behaviors obvious and easy while making bad behaviors invisible and difficult. If you watch too much television, unplug it and remove the batteries from the remote. Increase the friction. Use the 2-minute rule ruthlessly. Don't worry about whether 2 minutes is enough to make a difference. It's not about the results of that single 2-minute action. It's about becoming the type of person who shows up consistently. Once the behavior becomes automatic, you can improve it. But first, it needs to become a regular part of your life. Implement habit tracking using whatever system works for you. It could be a habit tracker app, a paper calendar with X's marked for completed days, or a jar with paper clips that you move from one side to another. The key is making your progress visible. This creates satisfaction and helps you notice when you're falling off track before small lapses become permanent backsliding. Finally, join communities that embody the behaviors you want to adopt. Nothing sustains motivation better than belonging to a tribe where your desired behavior is normal behavior. Find your people, whether that's a running club, a writing group, a mastermind of entrepreneurs, or a community of musicians. Your environment includes the people around you, and they shape your habits more than you realize. Conclusion: your future is built today. The philosophy of atomic habits is ultimately optimistic and empowering. You don't need to be a victim of your circumstances or your past. You don't need to make radical, unsustainable changes to transform your life. Instead, you need to make small, sustainable improvements consistently over time. You need to focus on systems rather than goals, on identity rather than outcomes, on process rather than results. The habits you perform each day determine the person you become. Every action is a vote for the type of person you wish to be. The cumulative effect of these votes is your identity, and your identity drives your behavior. This creates a powerful feedback loop that can work for you or against you. The question is, are your habits helping you become the person you want to be? Remember that time will pass regardless of what you do. A year from now, you'll wish you had started today. But you can start today. You can begin with something ridiculously small, so small it seems laughable. Read 1 page. Do 1 push-up. Write 1 sentence. Meditate for 1 minute. The size of the action doesn't matter at first. What matters is whether you're becoming the type of person who shows up consistently. Success is the product of daily habits, not once-in-a-lifetime transformations. Your outcomes are lagging measures of your habits. What you repeatedly do ultimately shapes the person you become, the results you achieve, and the life you live. So forget about goals and focus on systems. Focus on building atomic habits, those small, mighty behaviors that compound into remarkable results. The path forward is clear. Identify who you want to become, determine the behaviors that person would consistently perform, and then execute those behaviors until they become automatic. Make your habits obvious, attractive, easy, and satisfying. Stack them together, track them visibly, and surround yourself with people who reinforce your desired identity. Your transformation doesn't require a dramatic overhaul of your entire life. It requires small, sustainable changes made consistently over time. It requires patience with the plateau of latent potential and faith in the compound effect. Most importantly, it requires action today, right now, starting with the smallest possible step toward becoming who you want to be. James Clear has given us more than a book about habits. He's given us a blueprint for continuous improvement and lifelong growth. The atomic habits you build today are the building blocks of the person you'll become tomorrow. So, what vote will you cast for yourself today? What small action will you take? The choice is yours, and the time is now. Your remarkable future begins with an unremarkable present moment, and what you do with it